Hello, and welcome to Total Mage. I have been meaning to sit down and break this article down since yesterday, but with the demands of a full-time job, I did not have the time. Jumping right into the article, it was written by Mike Futter over at Gamerdaily.biz and published on the 30th of June. Link to the article in the description below. I will spare you nitpicking through the article and focus on some key things that Wilson says in the interview that I think have a huge effect on the games that are made and published by EA. In the 13th section of the interview, Wilson says something very concerning at the end. He details how video game creators like Todd Howard and his ilk are a thing of the past. Mike writes, and I quote, "Wilson suggests that the industry has started moving away from a model that prioritizes a single individual's vision as an anonymous team toils to bring it to life." End quote. Mike goes on then to quote Wilson as saying, and I quote, "It doesn't work that way anymore," he said. No doubt there are individuals who disproportionately impact in the creation of things that we do. No doubt in my mind there are very special people, but there are collections of them and groups of these very special people that can come together and do amazing things. And with teamwork, you do more. Continuing 2 sections down, he quotes Wilson, and I quote, "We don't live up to those values each and every day. But we have a framework through which to measure ourselves and drive our behavior and get us towards a better place. And I feel good about that," Wilson said. "I think what you discover is any time you get a group of people who are passionate about an idea, and it's a creative idea, and it's a pioneering idea, and there is a better than average chance that you are going to get it at least partially wrong on some level." End quote. This is so telling about how EA is run and why EA is consistently failing on almost every front. In my business, I approach every situation as if I'm going to win 100% of the time. I would never allow myself to get a professional goal that plans on the idea of some failure. There is a distinct difference between evaluating one's own performance or the performance of a company to find where you have erred and correct those flaws, than trying to excuse your failings as something you know are already predetermined at the start and part of the inevitable outcome. The article mentions something in the 20th section about Wilson being the former head of EA Sports, and how the division is, quote, "continuing to be potent revenue generators," end quote, short for making large amounts of money. This small section is the real explanation as to why Andrew Wilson is the CEO of EA. I will skip now down to the section 26 and end there. This is a longer quote, so bear with me. And I quote, this is Andrew Wilson, and I quote, "We brought together these 2 groups of players who are making this emotional value calculation at 2 different vectors," end quote. Wilson is talking about Anthem players right now. Quote, Wilson explained, "One was traditional BioWare story-driven content, and the other was this action-adventure type content. About the 30 or 40 hour mark, they really had to come together and start working in on the Elder game. At this point, everyone kind of went, oh, hang on a minute, now the calculation's off. It's off because I've got a friend who sits in this other category of player. They want to play the game a certain way, and I want to play the game a certain way. The promise was we can play together, and that's not working very well. Oh, by the way, I'm used to 100 hours of BioWare story, and that's not what I got," or "I expected that this game would have meaningfully advanced the action component that we'd seen in games like Destiny before, and I don't feel like it has," end quote. Andrew Wilson, in my opinion, is out of touch with reality. These 2 groups of players Wilson is talking about did not get what EA told them they would. It is not a matter of the adventure types from Destiny 2 didn't like the story aspect and the RPG players didn't like the shooter-looter aspect. The issue is that neither of these components exist in a semi or fully fleshed out form in the game. Lastly, when they got to the 30-40 hour mark and then, in your opinion, couldn't figure out how to play the game with their friends who play other styles of gameplay, you are trying to hint that the Elder game, you call it, wasn't achievable as a byproduct of this unintended miscommunication between gameplay styles. Andrew, there was not Elder content in the game. There was no end game that you promised. At the time you gave the interview, this game had been out for months, and there is still no endgame to speak of. This point he's trying to make about why Anthem didn't work ties almost seamlessly into my first point. Andrew Wilson thinks game creators/designers are a thing of the past. Andrew Wilson thinks games should be created from the thoughts and opinions of many perspectives. Lest we forget, the greatest classical music ever composed was done so by compositional committee. The greatest masterpieces of verse, music, dance, architecture, painting, sculpting, and all audio and visual art forms have been created by teams of artists. Question mark? The idea that a single creative mind would create a single fluid, consistent story to follow is old-fashioned? Question mark? And upon release of Anthem, we got just that. There was no real vision behind Anthem. There is not a soul to Anthem. The thing that Andrew Wilson and many other publishers want to remove from game creation is the creators themselves. This is why we will continue to see horrible AAA games, and companies like CD Projekt Red will dominate the market space. People want to believe in the story you tell. For that to happen, you need a storyteller. Thanks as always for stopping by. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. And as always, I will see you next time.